Clint's arrival on the observation. Full declassified account. No one on the observation can definitively explain how Clint came aboard, not even Clint himself. He's pondered it aloud on numerous occasions, once notably to a toaster that refused to answer. According to the ship's logs, the anomaly began with a navigational error labeled as a temporal hiccup, a term coined by Susie after the ship's systems briefly displayed coordinates placing them inside what appeared to be a giant cheese wheel orbiting 18th century Yorkshire. For exactly 12 minutes, all monitors showed rolling green hills populated by sheep, each emitting bleats subtitled in archaic English. Then Clint materialized. He emerged from the sealed portside airlock wearing a frayed British redcoat, shouldering a musket whose origin predates warp technology. His powdered wig appeared wind-blown despite the artificial atmosphere. He took a long breath of sterilized air and announced with absolute confidence, "By King George's ghost, I hereby conscript this vessel in the name of Do It for Yorkshire and Her Majesty's Imperial Cheese Reserves." Naturally, confusion followed. Ginger, the ship's doctor, administered a rapid suite of scans. Species, human. Temporal status, severely displaced. Nutritional preferences, beef, carrots, and an unquantifiable degree of stubbornness. Quantum signature, tangled with a theoretical artifact labeled the Royal Spoon. Doubtfire, 042, the ship's technician and guidance counselor, performed a quantum trace. The results suggested that Clint's timeline fractured in 1773 when he fell asleep beside a gunpowder keg during a folk song about pudding. A dimensional rift opened nearby, possibly due to ancient druidic interference, and absorbed Clint while he snored. He awoke hours later in a janitorial closet on Deck 3, assumed he'd been captured by French revolutionaries, and began headbutting a mop in an escape attempt. Casey offered him a beer, hoping to calm him. Clint declined, labeling it yeast water for weak-livered yeomen. They sparred using spatulas in the kitchen. Clint emerged victorious. Captain Bounty briefly considered ejecting Clint at the next station. But before that decision could be made, a Sarnak infiltrator disguised as a maintenance drone attempted to sabotage the engine core. Mistaking it for a highwayman, Clint lunged at the intruder with his musket, unloaded, pinned it to the bulkhead, and subdued it while singing a folk ballad about the Battle of Thirsk. Impressed and bewildered, Bounty granted Clint a crew badge. Clint sewed it into his lapel. Storage space, now filled with black powder and preserves. The honorary title of Historical Combat Specialist and Morale Officer Clint quickly made his presence felt aboard the ship. He hand-inscribed a new emergency protocol document using a quill and sealing wax. He introduced weekly history lectures, combining 18th century British geopolitics with impromptu swordplay. He challenged the ship's automated cleaning units to duels, then trained the survivors to march in formation. He regularly offered unsolicited tea to passing asteroids via long-range comms. Despite objections from Doubtfire 042, Clint's quarters were deemed chronologically unstable. Inside, there exists a functioning hearth, floating shelves that alphabetize themselves, and a mounted moose head that provides unsolicited opinions about uniforms. Each Tuesday at 0600, Clint ceremoniously fires his musket into the nearby black hole. No one knows why. Susie has updated flight protocols to accommodate the routine. He wears the red coat even during EVA operations. Ginger reluctantly modified a pressure suit beneath it after he delivered an impassioned speech about uniformed honor and national pride. During a diplomatic mission to the Cephalar cluster, Clint misunderstood the welcome song of a gelatinous alien race as a declaration of war. Within hours, he'd orchestrated an apology via handwritten poetry, fruit pies, and a group waltz. When pressed to explain how he arrived aboard the observation, Clint offers only, "I followed the Queen's pigeon through the fog. It showed me a door. That's all I'll say." He often adds a knowing wink, though it's never directed at the same person twice. New arrivals routinely ask, who approved his transfer? To which the crew typically responds, he didn't transfer. He's just part of the ship now. Whether artifact of time, champion of morale, or living paradox, Clint remains, musket over shoulder, determined stride, and eternal loyalty to Yorkshire ever at the ready. End of declassified record, Clint. Temporal anomaly, status stable. Observational clearance level 9.